Yeah, so today, and I've just seen that well, the presentation, we're not in June, we're actually in September. Are we in September still? Yes.
Is
But
it
this has been
2020? I
updated.
miss
It's really,
it. And here I was telling you about 20 times in the morning. Today is the
well,
autumn equinox.
yeah, it's obviously having its impact on me. So yes,
Probably
today
the
we're going to look
sun.
at the
So much orange.
the digital world, the digital classroom, and the digital teacher. Yesterday we covered very brief, well, not briefly, it was a bit of a whistle stop tour, but we looked at the digital teacher website. We looked at it as a framework for guiding us with how we organize ourselves in terms of online learning. It wasn't a silver bullet, was it, Rosalia? This was more a kind of, this can help you be better equipped. It wasn't necessarily to, it's not kind of some intelligent AI that's going to plan all of your lessons. Unfortunately, will we ever have that? I'm not sure. I'm not sure that would even be a good idea. But anyway, we introduced the digital teacher as a framework that could
Did
be.
I mention the H word yesterday, Johnny?
We
I think
yes,
I
we
did.
set a very clear homework task. So we're hoping that you've followed us on that one. There's our
Good.
name just appearing. And so today we will be just checking in on you to see if you've done your homework. As it's such a big group, we won't be checking on an individual basis. So, your teachers though, we
We
expect
trust
you to
you.
be absolutely. We expect you to be professional in this and to have at least gone and had a little look at the website and preferably done some sort of self evaluation, because that was the basis of yesterday, to say go to the website. It's got essentially can-do descriptors in a sense for each of the 6 areas, 3 of which we're going to go into today. And it was a chance for you to reflect on what you were really good at and what you maybe needed some help with. And we introduced the idea of using this as a basis for planning your own professional development, or where you need to kind of top up on certain elements, whether that's stuff like the digital world or evaluation or whatever. And we also floated the idea of maybe sharing some of this information with colleagues so that
Of
you could
course.
help each other out.
I
Karen,
think
yeah,
the digital teacher is such a great thing. I mean, I've always loved it, and I think it's one of the greatest things that we can have because it really supports our professional development.
it does. And it just gives a bit of it sort of benchmarks things in a useful way. It isn't there to judge, it's there to support. And I certainly think it's a very useful tool. And definitely involve colleagues, and maybe sharing is caring. So you might have 3 strong areas that are 3 weak areas for a friend or a colleague, and vice versa. So you can help each other out in quite an effective way.
Let's start.
We already started, Rosalia. This is all, don't you
I know, but
worry.
it's always such a natural conversation with you, Johnny. But just to remind people, yesterday we said when we talk about the digital teacher and becoming a digital educator, it's not just about technology. It really is what we do with technology, that we don't let technology dictate the way to go and the way to do things, etc., but it is using technology and making the most of it, right? Technology facilitating what we do. We used to do it in the regular classroom. Now it's a virtual classroom for the time being, right? But we're there.
And also previously, colleagues and even parents sometimes would question digitally focused or delivered material, and they would expect the classroom to be very traditional. So it's a chance for us to explore. It feels like we've got wings as teachers again, so we can try new things out with stuff that's online,
Yes.
with
Let's
platforms
fly away. Well, not away. Let's fly to the virtual
and let's
classroom.
let's begin let's begin that flight right now. So hopefully you began your flight last night or yesterday afternoon. And what we'd asked you is to go to the digitalteacher.com. It's too late to do it now. You won't have time.
Don't do it now.
And
Don't leave now. Just keep on listening here. But we have some
oh,
questions, as Johnny said. So the first one we want to see, and be brutally honest, please. We just want to get a feel of our colleagues here today, right? So you will have 4 options.
and so, if I'm not mistaken,
I think we go
hang on,
Menti.
we go Menti, and you should be able to see Menti now.
Exactly.
Possibly.
Just to remind everyone, if you haven't used Menti a lot, you can see the code there.
Mm-hmm. So go to menti.com, preferably on a mobile phone, and you have a code at the top that you can use to introduce and to engage with this. So menti.com, we're being very good teachers. We're modeling here, and you'll be prompted for the code. The code is 6594686. And I haven't got a great memory. I'm reading it from the top of the page. So we've got some people that have already got. I've got a shocking memory. I can't even remember. I don't even remember phone numbers that I've had for many years with Rosalia. I think it's possibly first signs of my downfall. So,
and people, yes, being brutally honest. Thank you for your honesty.
Yep. I do like the
I know. I mean, we finished. It was after 5 yesterday. Probably you were a bit tired after everything you had to do in the morning and then early afternoon. So don't worry, but it's a good thing.
We've got some people there. Some people that have managed to do the whole self-evaluation. That's fantastic.
And completed the self-evaluation. Yeah. Well done. People who have started, and remember, you have your account, so that will be stored. It will be kept there. That's very good. That's very nice.
60 seconds or so.
I hope people have noticed, Johnny, that we are trying to use different options, different Menti options, so that they can see the different things that they can do when they ask questions. So it's not the same result type that they get all the time, right? When they use it.
Yeah,
in the
a bit of variety helps, doesn't it? It breaks things up. But I mean,
it's the spice of life.
This is probably my favorite one. Just they look like little bees flying to honey pots. But
blue bees. Yeah.
Blue bees, but yeah. We'll give that another. I think yesterday we were a bit quick with the mentees, so we're going to give it a little bit of time. Just so that people, if you haven't seen the code,
I can always torture you just like 10 minutes before we have to finish, Johnny. You know I'm good at that.
I think we'll be good today. Just if you're not sure, look at the top where you've got the code 6594686. And when you're delivering instructions, you could choose to have them there as part of the.
Selling something, okay, but that's not a phone number.
Okay.
It's just.
It's not a phone number, no.
Serious now.
But yeah, okay. I think 30 seconds. I think there's enough that we've got more mentees coming. Only a couple, so don't worry if you haven't seen it.
Whoops was the winner today for this one.
Yeah, but at least hope and comments, please. We're going to ask you for comments when we go back to the presentation to see what you thought about it. Actually, let me just.
The code is there, Rosa Maria. If you haven't seen it, it's always there when we show it.
But we're moving on now. Questions of time.
And for the people who are asking for the access to the framework, right? It's Cambridge Digital Teacher, and that will get you there. But I know that one of our colleagues is going to be giving you the exact way to find it, the exact link, right? So moving on, Johnny.
Well, also, as we're going along, for those people, I think that you were a minority, maybe 15% of people or something like that had started or had completed, bravo for those people, the digital teacher self-evaluation. Please let us know in the comments and we'll do our best to try and find them and take a look. We'd like to know what you thought. Did anything catch your eye with how it was set up? Was anything surprising in the descriptors that you read? So it's not just getting feedback in terms of ABCD. We want some sort of qualitative comments on your opinions and thought on the digital teacher.
Exactly. And today, I'm happy to report, we will be talking about one thing that usually attracts a lot of attention because it's something unexpected for most people. So yesterday we say it's like this big digital universe, and you have different regions, different galaxies, different units, different elements, whatever you want to call them, right? And we will be starting with the digital world, the digital classroom, and the digital teacher today.
So we are swinging back to
this one is for you to explain. So let me tell people about this one. So I said, okay, Johnny, so what about we do something about word association? What comes to your mind when I say the digital world? And here you can see what came to Johnny's mind.
Well, this is a visual representation. I just like the picture, but we're going to move to Menti now, so we get your opinions. And this is a little bit of a. Are we testing them a little bit here, Rosalia? I think we might be, because
I know.
after this, we're going to look at the areas in the digital world that we need to consider.
Definitely.
So we're going to go to Menti again, if I can. There we
Okay,
go. We
you
should
don't
have.
have to give the answer here in the chat. You have the code there. You go to menti.com and there's a code there, and the code will always be there while you go and look for menti.com, www.menti.com, right?
Oh, that's a good positive one to start off with. Fantastic. Digital
That's
world.
great.
When you hear that, what do you think of? I love word association. And if I'm doing my students, I might say a race to 10 or a race to 20 words. And then you could even get them comparing in teams or groups and seeing who has the unique words to really push their vocabulary if it's on a topic that is of interest
And
to them.
Menti is one of those resources that is good, right, Johnny? Because it's the one that blocks not suitable language.
Yes, there's a profanity filter on there. I didn't feel the need to use it here because we're in good company, but for students, if you were going to use it, you might want to consider that. But we're seeing challenging coming up. It also aggregates like it does with all the other results, but basically the bigger letters are the ones that are coming up more frequently in your
Exactly. So if
feedback.
you have challenge, for example, you can see you have challenge and challenging. So it's different ones, exactly. So lexical families, it's a different, each different word receives a different grading and how it appears.
Oh my word.
Awesome. Interesting.
We like this one.
Amazing. This is the sort of thing, is like when you look at things that happen and you can go on looking and looking because it changes. So shall we give it another 7 seconds, Johnny, you reckon?
Let's give it 11 seconds. I'm hedging for that.
Feeling generous today, are you?
It's slightly hypnotic the way it grows, but it's stuff like this. I mean, you could even do this without using Menti. You know, even having some sort of mind map in a notebook that just got students away from a computer screen, and then they just show them when the time limit's up.
Exactly, and it can be very useful because then sometimes you can see, for example, a word that is being misspelled by several students, by several of your learners, or you can ask them to monitor that, right? Is there anything that you can see that is not spelled correctly, right? Make it challenging to them while they are answering and doing things.
So there we are. We've got a good.
That is a lovely word cloud.
Challenging technology, all kinds of different words coming up. I'm just going to try to.
Computers, yes, definitely.
Go back to the presentation. So that was great to hear and to see. It was a bit of a test because what we're actually comparing it to is some of the key concepts within the 3 elements, realms, areas, however we want to phrase it, that we touched on at the beginning: the world, the classroom, the teacher.
Would be appropriate today, Johnny. You're going to see. Everybody's going to see why.
Okay. Well, we'll wait with bated breath. Well, basically, yeah. I mean, your responses were really interesting. They were more, and we were deliberately open with it. Yours were more kind of feelings. I feel it's challenging. I feel like it's exciting, all this kind of stuff. But sometimes it's good to put that to one side and then look at the kind of structure of how digital learning might take place. And these were some of the issues that we had to go through very quickly yesterday. That was the intention as well, just to give you a taster. And today, these are our 3. Well, if they're galaxies, we might be here for some time yet. If they're galaxies, we could be here for some decades or centuries or whatnot. But
light years.
Do you want to kick us off, Rosalie, and introduce what we're going to be
always a pleasure
in this part? So the first galaxy,
digital world. This is going beyond the classroom, right? We're going to be looking at different things. You can see the list of different things. I want you to see that. Look at that list. Which one makes you go, I hadn't really thought of that. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask all of you. Johnny is usually the person I text. So Johnny.
I'm normally the guinea pig or the volunteer. I'd say there are two there that catch my eye. One is digital citizenship, and one is legal issues. I think those are the
Yeah,
two.
the first one is
Can
difficult
I
to
give you two?
pronounce sometimes. Yes, those two, I definitely agree with you. And it legal issues because people say, come on again, digital what? Why? So let's start. Very important. The last one, digital welfare and safety. Very, very important. And it can be quite fun too, because it can make you go creative, and you're going to see why. Let's start.
Right. So the eternal problem of never having enough time, and
I think
that's
I took
been.
that photograph of you several months ago, Johnny. It was
Oh,
pre-COVID.
I don't have a laptop that snazzy, but anyway, don't know who you're taking photos of, but yeah. But yeah, productivity. So
Kind of.
starting out at a desk surrounded with all kinds of paraphernalia and all that stress. We're
Going
gonna look.
crazy. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you use some apps, don't you, to keep yourself on track, Rosalia?
I use so many apps. I've told you. I mean, I am responsible for one of the probably the biggest apps graveyards in the history of the world, of the digital world.
But you recommend Trello and Asana. Um,
We're going to see when it comes to productivity is there's never enough time, Johnny, right? I mean, when you start planning things and then you deliver things and then you have to monitor how things go, you have to evaluate results, etc. There's simply never enough time. So you have to see how you're going to manage what you have, right? You have to plan very carefully what it is you want to achieve, you want to accomplish, so that you get the best resources, the best apps for what you need, etc. And as I say, you have to monitor, is something really working? Was something really successful? Or did something just bump? Because sometimes that happens, right? And for example, I would like to mention two things here. Remember, we said we're not going to teach you how to use platforms or apps here, but we would like to mention two. We have Trello and Asana, and I know I have a colleague of mine, Monica from the marketing team in Mexico. She loves Trello, and I think one of the main reasons she loves Trello is because I belong in a group which is about like, for example, creating sessions, webinars, etc. for our preparation centers. It's interesting that what she loves about Trello is probably one of the things I don't really like about Trello, because I get all sorts of messages saying, Monica has assigned you a task, right? And there are days when I am doing something else and I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different tasks, right? So for her, that's a very good thing, because it's a very good way of reminding me that I have promised to do something and when it is due, etc., right? When you yourself get the tasks, it's not such a nice feeling, but it's okay. And it's Asana. I think between those two, Johnny, probably Trello is more user-friendly, really, if you think about it.
But yeah, the idea is planning out learning outcomes rather than having lots of different resources. So start with your outcomes and then channel things towards that. And those are just a couple of recommendations that Rosalie has had.
Exactly. And if you've never used any of those, I would say start with Trello, because I think it looks more more accessible in a way, right? Asana looks like much more professional. So I would really start with Trello. That's my recommendation.
So this was an addition from you, Rosalie. What's going on here?
That's also another photograph I took of you, Johnny. You plan so many things, but don't you feel like that sometimes? That you have so much. Where do you put those things? And I know you're fond of the word boxing and unboxing now, right? When you talk about this is like physical things. When we used to do things using pen and paper, right? Where do you put everything that you create? Think about the digital world. When you create things digitally, where do you put them? How do you store them? How can you find them if you don't store them properly? If I ask you, what have you got on the third box, that you're carrying now? Can you remember?
No, I probably didn't label it, did I? So
no, and probably if you need exactly that same thing, those same materials for something next week, you're going to have to create those things yet again, which is sad.
I'll spend hours getting frustrated looking for them and then having to create the materials again. So I guess the message here is keep things tidy and organized.
Exactly. If you want to keep something because it does work, keep it. If you want to first edit something that you use and it wasn't that successful, do it and then keep it, but make sure you know where to find it next time you need it.
And I think I would go for the approach that I used to have in the classroom, which is less is more. Don't overwhelm yourself with resource just because you're online. Keep things really quite light, and don't forget that there's a lot you can get out of exercises in terms of feedback and scaffolding. You shouldn't be just going through box and resource box, metaphorically speaking, after resource box. You should really be making the most of each activity and getting the maximum you can out of it.
Exactly.
And that's just to reiterate, isn't it, that having folders, subfolders, and named folders and files is key. We know that some of you will work with different platforms where you might have an autosave, which is great. And also consider your students as well. How are they organizing themselves? You can't be there with their books anymore. You're going to have to give them some advice, and possibly parents, on how to keep things organized.
And maybe some people will say, oh, come on, easy to understand file names, of course, right? And you say, of course, but some people are very good at creating names. Then a couple of weeks later, they cannot really understand them anymore, right? So now it's not like, remember years and years ago, there used to be a limit of only so many characters, like 20 characters, I can't remember how many. But now you can write everything. So when we were revising and recreating and editing this webinar today, Johnny, I said to you, okay, the final version, what did I call it? It said final, right? The file name said Digital Teacher Webinar 2 Final, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that made a lot of sense. I hope it made sense to you. I know that sometimes I send you things that say final. So that is the final. I've never gone to final.
We'll see in 10 slides or so if the message got through. Maybe
Okay.
This isn't the right one. But yeah, we want to avoid having that. You could keep things organized in a notepad separate from your computer to give yourself some brain space as well. Depends on how you prefer to work. But the idea of these little tips is to keep things as tidy as possible so we don't have this kind of mess on our desks.
Post-its are great. There's still lots of very useful ways of using them, but it shouldn't be just there blocking your screen, right? It don't help that way. So that's a big no-no.
This is one that I was curious about, along with legal issues, was it? Digital citizenship.
Yeah.
Explain.
It means one of the things, and you know me, Johnny, because usually when we start looking at things, I say, the font, can that grow a little bit, please?
Yeah.
Because I'm always aware of the fact that sometimes it's not easy for some people, and let's face it. I mean, when you look at a slide and it's like 20 lines, Johnny, I always think that really is a bit sad, or a lot sad, and then you have to make a decision. Do I listen to what the person is saying, or do I try to read what he's showing me, right? So less is more, as you said, simple fonts, right, that everybody can understand, large letters whenever you can, strong colors, but don't choose like 25 different colors just because you can use 25 different colors, right?
Oh.
And white space, love it. It really is good, because then it's like you write notes. You want people to listen to you when you're presenting. So you want your learners not to be trying to read everything, but listening to you, and you're giving them what we call the keywords, right? So things that they should pay attention to, things that that will help you. But really, if you think about it, Johnny, when you see a slide, this is for you to remember what it is you want to share with your learners, or in this case, with our colleagues, okay?
It's not for you to read from the top corner to the bottom corner, everything that's on there. You're meant to keep it really simple. Instructions, it depends on how you prefer to deliver them, whether they're verbally or perhaps in the chat. That could be a different way of doing it, but definitely not on that screen, because that's the majority of what somebody's going to see. And if they see it full of different colors and words, they're going to be like, oh, no. Not again.
No, exactly.
And now, as part of digital citizenship, we've got another question, haven't we?
Yes, let's go Menti again.
you want to just read the question out and
This is,
give the
yeah, this is
just whilst I
very
get onto the
interesting because
Menti?
you see, and today we specifically decided to use many more visuals, right? So we want to have these more. It's the start of the autumn, the fall, right? So we want to be more colorful and do different things today and show you, for example. But we will explain where we got the photographs, right? How we got them. So when you yourself use photographs, how do you get them? Which photographs, what visuals do you use? Be honest.
So some people,
We got that. We got the donut for that one.
We've got the donut. Yeah, it's time for an afternoon tea
Yeah,
and maybe a
Aaron, I
donut.
totally agree with you. When you add visuals, the interaction becomes much more attractive.
Is that a comment we've had? That's great.
Yeah, that is a very nice comment. Oh yes, I'm sorry, Johnny. You see, when I go
Sometimes I
like
can't
this, is
see.
I'm looking at
Well,
some comments.
Yeah, you've got two monitors. You're special, Rosalia.
Sometimes it can be too much technology. I've told you. I don't know
It
which
can
one
be.
to
Come on,
which one
guys,
to pay
don't be
attention
shy.
to.
Yeah, let's go over 200, and then we've got a really nice sample of
Yeah.
what you do. So just no names are taken. It's nothing like that. It's anonymous, which students love as well as and certainly teachers do. So give us your experience. How are
And
you getting your videos?
thanks to people, for example, like a big thank you to people like Montserrat, she's being brutally honest, but there's something we're going to start talking about, something that I think will be very interesting for you, Monse. You wait and you'll see. Is it like only 2 seconds left, Johnny?
I want 200, but people are being shy, Rosalia. What can we do?
No,
We can
okay,
wait a bit
we'll
longer.
give them like 10 seconds. And just for those people who might have been a bit late today, just to remind them, don't worry, everybody will be getting their certificates of attendance for each of the 3 different webinars, right? And everybody will also be getting the link to the recorded versions of the webinars on YouTube. And once they have watched those, they will be eligible for certificates of attendance as well, right? So that's great news. So I think we should stop there now. I was going to stay with my favorite number 84, but now we've gone to 85, which is okay. And I think that's great news. Well, it was very close, wasn't it? But thanks
They're tied as far as 80-66 I'm seeing. That's incredible.
Right. Okay, so probably what we're going to say may not be sort of news to the people who who said from a free to use website for sharing photographs, illustrations, etc., because that is a great idea and that is a way to go about doing things legally, right? I think we should go to the next one, or maybe we should say here, Johnny, that anything I find online is not a very good idea. Remember yesterday, I sort of said a little, maybe it was a little bit cryptic when I said it. I said, we have to remember, we lead by example in the classroom, right? So what we do is really conveying a message, a very significant and powerful message to our learners. Legal issues we have to consider: copyright. Those people who took those photographs, if they're professional photographers, that's what they do for a living, right? So we have to consider that. It's very important. We also have to respect the law. The fact that you can do it, but you know it's not a good thing to do, that doesn't justify what you did, because you know it was not a good thing to do. Oh my God, that was almost like a tongue twister. You have to encourage your learners to always respect the law, because you're not going to like it when you find them that they have just copied and pasted something for their homework, right? It's not going to be a nice thing for you to find. And just think about, what if you were the writer, the photographer, the artist, etc., and people are just doing that? Not nice.
Yeah,
not
it's
legal.
a chance to it's a chance to lead by example and to also set the standards essentially for the future. You want them to create their own work. You want them to be respectful, not just with the images, but moving on as they go to higher education. You want them to be respectful towards authors that they're citing and all kinds of things. So you're in a kind of privileged position to be able to help instill those kind
Exactly.
of principles from a young age. And Rosalia is a very big advocate of this, and she's recommended to many colleagues a phenomenal website. Rosalia, as
And
I'm
I
going
would
to the
like to
website, you're going to
say,
just give a bit of an introduction, I hope.
perfect. Yeah, happy to. So people must have realized by now that we try and have links for we use the footer for that, right? So Pixabay, and that is pixabay.com. This is a great ally for people who are doing things digitally, because you can find, like this one, like we had the lovely bear. Was it a bear? Yeah, or a hippo.
I'm
I
not
think it was
sure,
a
but
hippo. I'm not sure now, but you go there to pixabay.com and you find free images. And also another very good thing, Johnny, is that you don't have to credit the image. When you
no,
say
so
you credit the image, you have to say who it was that took that photograph, right? And usually you have an at there, right? What we call
yeah.
very romantically arroba in Spanish, the at sign, right? So that's very good, because sometimes you really don't have room on your slide or whatever it is you're using, etc., to add the credit. But with Pixabay, it's not a requirement. You don't have to do it.
And so give me a topic, Rosalia, maybe a topic that you would have a B1 or B2 level class.
Autumn. I know that's not
Autumn.
for you said B1?
B1, B2. Well, you could do autumn or the seasons. And so
Tangerine.
what you could do here, it could be aligned, preferably aligned with definitely your learning outcomes. Maybe it corresponds to some of the topics you're studying with the class. But you could get them to find images to give to each other for speaking activities or for writing activities, like the 1 minute kind of what can you see in the picture, or can you describe the picture for me, or comparing two pictures. You could give them time in class even to find that. There's, give them a few minutes on Pixabay, pick out two, put them in a PowerPoint slide, and then get them to quiz each other in breakout rooms or in pairs. So it could be a nice idea for that
A
kind of.
lovely idea.
Yeah, there's also we came across a nice one. I think if we can get it in for tomorrow, I think it's a storyboarding one, which is quite interesting as well. Somebody
Yeah.
recommended that to us. But basically, giving the students some autonomy, like we said at the beginning, that technology gives a chance to give students some control over their learning.
Two things I would like to mention here, Johnny. It's like with Pixabay, for example, you see the difference in size. The first photographs that they will give you, Pixabay is free, but the very first set at the very, very top, right? You see that is different. Those are the ones that if you would like to use, you would have to pay for, right? Okay. So careful. Those ones are not free, right? Maybe you can get 20 for free and then you would have to pay, etc. But the other ones, and sometimes there are hundreds, right? Johnny became a Pixabay addict in less than half a day.
It's true. But yeah, it's exciting what you can do. And an image says so much. You could be labeling it for a kind of a lower ability group. It could be thinking of a title for it for a range of levels. It could be, as I said before, an extended piece of written discourse or spoken discourse if it's 60 seconds or 90 seconds. I mean, there are, we love pictures, we love visuals as people, and it certainly makes sense.
They make a huge difference
as well.
And the second thing, because I did say two things, the second thing is if you say, oh, I've seen everything. It's like people who say, I've seen everything on Netflix. I don't really believe that, but some people can say, oh, I've seen everything and there's nothing I would like to use. Then just go online and search, and you just write something like Pixabay, and you will get lots of different suggestions. Just make sure they are free, they're legal, etc. And then you yourself, as you said, you can recommend them to your learners.
Yeah, and also you could get, it's worth saying, with people involved, maybe not, but certainly environments, especially pictures of certain objects. That's something that students could bring to the class themselves, whether it's a park they live nearby, they get a picture of something kind of artistic. All kinds of project work that could be springboarded on this kind of initial activity. And Rosalie, you've got, look at this.
I'm sorry, I was saying, because I was reading, people want us to start a WhatsApp group, Facebook group, Johnny, just to say to everybody, thank you. You're being really very kind. Something like Pixabay will make the difference between legal and illegal, and that is very important, right? So, and remember, just remember to remind them, Joni, that we will be sending a list of all the different references that we have been mentioning.
We'll be
And
glad
we will
to do
keep
that.
on mentioning some more, right? So important to
We've got a lot more to
remember.
come in the next 15-ish minutes, including digital welfare, which this is one of your specialist
I think
topics,
I'm very happy to say I've made a believer of you, Joni, because
Uh-huh.
the first time I mentioned aerobics, remember what you said?
Not precisely, but I can imagine.
What?
I was a bit confused.
Usually when I mention something like that, you say first
Listen,
you
you're
go,
using your fancy words. Tell me
what?
what it
And I think, let me tell you about it. So let me tell you about it. This is like brain fitness. Some people are great at always going out, for example, very carefully going out for a walk. I have a stationary bike at home, for example, right? But what about your brain? You're doing something for your body, but what about for your brain? What are you doing for your brain? Being just sitting down and really looking at your screen for hours and hours and hours, that is really tiring. That makes you feel exhausted at the end of the day. And there are different things you can do so that your brain is also getting activity, right? Not just what you're doing when you're presenting, not just what you're doing when you're planning your sessions or when you're assessing, testing, etc. And things that can be really fun and interesting. So for example, using your non-dominant hand, for example, when you write something. So in my case, I'm right-handed. So I will try to do, don't worry, Joni, I'm not going to volunteer you to do this. But I've asked Joni, for example, to say, okay, so you're left-handed, right?
No, I'm right-handed.
Right-handed. So then you will have to be left-handed for the next 10 seconds and try to write your name, right? So that's what you do when you do, and it's your brain is going like, huh, this is interesting, right? I don't usually do this, right? So I have to do something different. And this is, oh, Joni, you're very good at tongue twisters. So can you give us an example? Oh, you did it. Well done.
I did the, yeah, for the tongue twister. Give me a tongue twister.
Red lorry.
Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry.
So you see, apparently it's very easy and not challenging at all, but just red lorry, yellow lorry. Try and say that 5 times and then try and do it more and more quickly all the time. I think you haven't tried El Rey de Parangaricutirimí, Joni.
And I don't think now's the time to either.
Now,
if I can be honest.
Probably take us about 30 minutes for you to start.
We haven't got the time.
But yeah, that word, okay? And mindfulness. I've told you so many things about mindfulness, Joni. I'm sure you can talk about 2 of the things that you find most interesting about mindfulness.
I think silent pauses are quite nice in what you're doing, whether you're planning or whether it's in the middle of a class, maybe with some music in the background. I particularly like that idea. Sort of calm and relaxing music. I also, I like
that's a Mozart effect, right? Good.
It is, but I like the technique we spoke about before with this is a pen. Do you want to tell us about that one?
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. That's it.
Okay. What can you look at? Find 3 things, right? And then, for example, I said, okay, and try and make them just 1 word. Okay, so I have like mug, spoon, and pen, right? And they have to be in different places. So spoon is number 1, pen is number 2, and mug is number 3. So I go 1, and I don't move my head, but I just try to focus on them visually, right? I look at them. 1, 2, 3, but I don't say anything. I just breathe normally, and I go like that. And it's quiet time, and it helps you focus on different things. Mindfulness is about here and now, and it helps you feel what is happening and be there yourself. It's like giving your brain time to relax. So that is absolutely reading. That's absolutely wonderful. I was looking at the last thing we suggested here, like reading very slowly or reading very quickly, right? Which one do you usually do? There are people who are used to reading very quickly. There are people who usually read very slowly, etc., etc. Tongue twisters in the classroom, Johnny, they're fun.
Definitely.
They
And
really are.
even again,
Parang tinimik ko, Johnny, coming to you next week. Okay?
okay, I'll be
I have
dodging that one.
another reminder here.
But just before you say that, I was gonna say again, it's something you could get them to record and send to you, and you could have a
Yes.
digital portfolio of student work, and that's something that would be very difficult to do in a classroom. Just logistically, that's quite difficult to handle. Whereas we saw yesterday, you're all quite familiar with, and if not, then you can just go, platform to record audio, Buckaroo, and all kinds of other ones come up. And it's very easy then for you to receive them by email rather than by phone, which is much more kind of safe and prudent given what we're saying about legal issues. And basically, you've got that sample there, which also feeds into assessment, also feeds into your designing of learning and your implementation of learning. And so much easier than with a noisy class of 30 or 35 kids, right?
Exactly. So the important thing to remember about digital welfare is about well-being, right? You have to survive in the digital classroom, and you have to do more than survive. You have to be well. You have to be in the best possible way you can be, okay? Mindfulness, please explore that. We have been talking about, Johnny and I have done a couple of webinars specifically on mindfulness, and we've talked about the fact that in some countries, like in the UK, in New Zealand, in Australia, etc., the government has officially declared mindfulness to be a very important part of education and education programs nationally, okay, which is amazing.
Absolutely. So we will move on. We've got some images here as part of that.
Yeah,
move to
well-being. So that's
yeah.
mindfulness, really. You talk about meditation, things like that. You start little, you start for a very short time, and then you can do other things. And there are many apps. Just search for mindfulness, right? Many things you can try. But water is also very important for you and your learners. Make sure, and when you talk to them, you see Johnny there, you see me here, right? And very important, try not to use glasses, because they can be tricky. And water is not a very good friend of digital stuff, usually, right? So be careful with that. But it's not just water, Johnny. So if you look very quickly, we can sort of have things like, especially if you have young learners, make sure you talk to your parents about the importance of them having access to things they can have for a very quick break, or something like fruit, or even something like some veg, right? Why not? My son, Cricket, has always liked celery, and I'm talking about from a very young age. He's always liked celery, right? So make sure they know that. If you let them have crisps, things like biscuits and sweets and chocolates all the time, they will start getting, right? So not the right attitude and not the right way to have them in your virtual classroom. And not good for you either, okay? So water.
Maybe a brief meeting, like you said, with parents to set the kind of rules out, and a checklist. Maybe,
and it's a good thing. And for example, an important conversation to have, and you think about digital welfare, you think about legal issues, you think about things like what I'm doing here, and when I ask them to do these, etc., etc. So very good idea that to talk to parents as early as possible. Carrots.
So healthy food and snacks, definitely.
Yes, always a good idea.
And I think this is the next big section we'll be looking at, and that's the classroom itself.
And here we look at the different opportunities and challenges that we find in the digital classroom itself. So theories and methodologies, see what you can adapt. Johnny, would you say you're happy with that? Everything that you can adapt, see what you have to change, see what is easier now, because you're doing it digitally, because that's also being in the digital classroom can be a challenge. But as we're saying there, think of it also as lots of different new opportunities, right? Because you have access to digital tools and resources, But always important to remember remember that session we did on upskilling and downskilling, Johnny, and when there's high tech, but maybe in some cases there's very low tech, etc., etc. So how can you adapt? You have a very good idea for an activity. How can you adapt that to different contexts, to different circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Everything you can do. Also important, we're language teachers. So what is the tool of our trade? Well, it's language, right? In our case, we are ELT professional, English language teaching professionals, so it's English. So improve your language proficiency. I myself like to challenge Johnny, believe it or not. I try and find words that are not very usual English words, right? And sometimes he surprises me because Johnny's Spanish used to be because now it's really very Mexican, but used to be Castilian Spanish, right? So sometimes I become creative and try and even find some things in Castilian Spanish, thinking maybe Johnny doesn't know this one. Right, Granuja?
But I do. But yeah, definitely tools of our trade, awareness and knowledge of language, and I think it's about embracing some of the opportunities which we'll see now in terms of how we can collect information and collect student work. I think, yeah.
The best teachers never stop learning.
Absolutely. And if you can put in the comment, probably in the comments the section, just what you've been using so far in the digital classroom. I chose this image just because there's so much out there, and it's a case of pulling things together. So you've got your kind of core approach, and that's something that basically is reinforced by what we're saying about the digital teacher framework with those 6 key principles.
You saw it and you fell in love with it today. I know.
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. I did like it. I thought it was very representative of how we can sometimes feel it's a big web, but we can, pull and get a certain area that we can choose. We can be very particular about what we do use, and I think the digital teacher helps you do that. And that's why, for those that haven't already checked it out, please take a look and do that self-evaluation.
Exactly. So what have you been using? What things had you been using before? What have you adapted? So for example, things like for communication, things like emails, maybe WhatsApping, Johnny, yes? Facebook, I think Facebook, for example, has been a great way of communicating with parents, right? Because many parents are worried about, oh, but my kid didn't have time to take his Cambridge test or exam, etc., or his Michigan exam. So what is going to happen? How can we make sure that they keep on getting prepared for those exams and tests, etc., right?
Even the idea of sending fortnightly emails to parents to say, this is what we're doing over the next 5 or 6 lessons, so they're involved and they know that you're planning ahead. That's useful. If possible, Facebook, like Rosalie was saying, maybe having some live sessions. And also we said yesterday that, teaching platform that you have, or the learning platform, you're probably going to have very little say in that decision. So use it as much as you can and as well as you can, particularly to what I call reduce the live burden. Just because it's a 60-minute class doesn't mean to say that you have to be like Rosalie and I here, like this is a different type of interaction. But in a class, it doesn't mean that it's them looking at you.
Doing the talking of the time.
Yeah, teacher talking time. Yeah,
should go down. Should go down.
Absolutely. Right? And you could introduce things with videos as well. You could send videos that introduce certain topics of work to explain to students or to set them off with certain activities. We mentioned parallel activities here, whereby you might have online documents that are being edited at the same time, whether it's like a vocabulary race or some sort of definition game or something, or writing a sentence about a picture. The great thing about that, for instance, is that if you're asking them to produce certain written language around a certain topic or a certain area, they can't repeat, obviously. Whereas in a classroom, they could just say, I have the same as Jaime, sorry. So, but actually, if they're on a live document, you could say, I want you to think of a question about holidays. And if there are 20 in the class, you say, every question has to be different, and see what they come up with, and say, you can't repeat a question that's already there. So they really have to dig down and think about what they're doing. And that could be a 5-minute activity where they're live on the Word doc, and then they come back into the room. And also, we think it's a good idea to get them to exploit what they've got at home, whether that's doing scavenger hunts, whether it's doing like find
that's
something and
nice.
show me, which is a cool, yeah, scavenger hunts are quite cool. Possibly out the window, where you could have somebody describe what's outside the window.
Scavenger hunting, first talk to parents so that they understand.
Yeah,
Because
but even on
it's very funny that they're trying to get the dog to face the camera, right?
So, perhaps you're getting them to record vocabulary every lesson, so they have a 5-minute period at the end of the lesson where they're doing a little picture card with the word next on the other side of it. You could have them laid out on the table and say, I want you to show me dog. So it's a bit more visual and a bit more kind of kinetic in terms of what they're doing. And also, yeah, engage with games and songs, perhaps as homework, or there are certain websites you can recommend where you type along with the lyrics, for example. That could even be something for a fast finisher in the classroom if they finish the activity.
Can I just have a quick commercial here and say that both Michigan and Cambridge, we have been developing and creating so many new resources, exciting things. And yesterday we mentioned Kahoot and we mentioned My New Classroom. Absolutely wonderful things. And this Pocoyo character, who I'm told, because I mean, my son is in his 20s, right? So he doesn't really watch Pocoyo. Right, so but I know that people, young people, very young people, go crazy about Pocoyo. So see how Cambridge is interacting with Pocoyo and how he can help you in the classroom, in the virtual classroom, especially with very, very young learners.
Right.
Oh, so this is where I start torturing you, Johnny. So how many more slides to go ahead? This is you.
This is mine. So although students might be connecting from home, the whole world is out there. This is one example of here in Mexico where they can go to a museum and go on a tour. Obviously, this is the advert, or the kind of comment there is in Spanish, but they could have a homework to do a review of the museum. Obviously in English, write 50 words or tick things that you saw, any kind of thing like that, and you could get them actually to travel around the world, go to some museums in the United States of America, in the UK, and Malaysia, wherever.
You can find the British Museum there.
Yeah, so setting a homework task around this, I think, is quite cool. You could have groups going to different museums, and they have to think of the advantages, and then they have to convince the class. They have to present in a few minutes and convince the class why their museum is the best museum. For instance, there are all kinds of speaking activities and writing activities that could be done around this, and even listening and reading, obviously. If you were able, if you're quite comfortable with things like teaching them to pick up on certain, if things are in Spanish and in English, how would they translate certain key phrases? Which phrases did you see? You could even do some pedagogical shortcutting like that to say, well, yeah, you've seen that phrase a lot in Spanish. That actually means this. You say it like this in English. So it's a wealth of resource. It's interesting. It means they can do it from home. You could actually put it, have it as a homework task, or put it on in class. Your call, but very kind of visual again, and very experiential, which I think is quite cool.
Yeah, and when we found that, say every day at 5 in the evening, there's a virtual tour, right? And this is El Museo Sumaya here in Mexico City.
Yeah.
And I said, Johnny, I have to confess, I've never been, right?
And what did I say? Neither have I.
So we said, okay, we're going to schedule these, not today, not tomorrow, because we have webinar 3 tomorrow, but on Thursday, definitely, we're going to do the virtual tour, right? So we hope to see some of you there.
And moving to, how we can be supported. We've got some very clear avenues to explore here.
I think you want people to challenge you, Johnny. Yeah, sorry. I was thinking of my last challenges. There was somebody called Johnny from Johnny. Okay, I'm not getting names right anymore, right? But this is great.
We've got I guess 4 key resources or so here, and we're going to look at some we're going to look at them in a slightly more detail, if not briefly, in the next couple of slides.
Just to say, AI stands for artificial intelligence. VR is virtual reality, or 360 videos. Cambridge English Grammar Profile, that is something great, specifically like sometimes Johnny challenges me and said, remember what he said when I was talking about Pixabay. Think of a word that your A2 learners can use, right? And I say, okay, I haven't got the word list right now. Okay, so I try and think. And the what Johnny calls the improves family, right? Write and improve and speak and improve. Speak and improve is a baby. Is a baby improve, and we're very happy. Because
We've got a little screenshot coming up of it, which we can
okay,
talk you through.
but you have Quiz Your English there, and Quiz Your English is really very nice because you can get your colleagues, right, to challenge you. And Johnny, you got the version in Spanish.
Yes, my iPhone is in Spanish.
I have to say, I had
Other
never seen
phones
it
are
in
available.
Spanish.
But yes, basically you can download the app. There are certain specific areas that you can dig into related to course books from Cambridge University Press, and also quizzes, which is quite cool. And they give you some ideas as well for what you could do in class. But on top of that, what I think is quite interesting is it gives you scores as you go along. So if you said to somebody, "Oh, you're an early finisher," look, 5 minutes left in the lesson, I want you to go on to Quiz Your English, and you keep a
This is
register of their scores,
addictive.
and then you can see they'll enjoy it anyway. But just in case they say, "Yeah, of course I'm on it," and they're just WhatsApping, you say, "Well, look, I can see that
This is
you've actually
addictive.
done some work."
I remember once talking about this, and there was a center exams manager. It was a presentation for lots of lovely people from different preparation centers. And I introduced this person to Quiz Your English. And she said, can I challenge you? Of course. And then I was challenged like 84 times on Saturday and Sunday. And then she was very happy because then on Monday she said, I won, I beat you. And I say, okay, good, right? But it's great.
Leave me alone. No, it's a great tool. And also we mentioned Write and Improve, which some of you might be aware of. Now there's the opportunity to have a class view, which gives you analytics on the trends in your class and where people
can
are.
I just say, Johnny, this is to remind people it's also for ourselves, so that we ourselves can improve our English, but it's also something that you can use with your learners, that you can recommend to your learners, right? So two different ways of going about it.
What I would do with this as well is do it as a class to start with, to introduce them to it. Give them the prompt. So there's a prompt there about making a short video about daily life at your school. You might want to have a different prompt in that case for the one you do. But basically, get them to brainstorm in groups, get them to plan it, or you could get them to just to free write, and you're typing, and then you give them the feedback. So you don't correct them, you don't say anything. It's a class to decide. You could do student by student, where people continue the story or continue the report or continue the article, and then get them to look at it, see what they think, get them to check it. So you're really trying to increase the awareness of correction skills, basically, which can be very lacking actually in first language speakers as well, not just in students. But definitely there's a lot you can do with Write and Improve, not just setting it for homework to say go and do something. Yes, do that, but bring it into the classroom as well and really make the most of it.
Good. Can we show them Sandy before we finish?
Yes, tell us about Sandy.
That is Sandy. Sandy is a lovely robot, right? And Sandy never gets tired of hearing you speak. Isn't that great? It's just like Write and Improve. You can make the same mistake 84 times and you'll never be insulted by Write and Improve. Just say with Sandy. She's always going to say, she's always going to keep on asking you questions, right? If you don't understand something, you can ask her again and again and again. And Sandy was specifically created to talk to learners of English, right? So if you're a first user of English, this is probably not a good idea to use because you'll probably get a bit frustrated, but this is thinking about the different levels. And remember, between Michigan and Cambridge, it's about over 7 million of exams and tests a year, Johnny, right? And we take all the data from there, right? And we feed it to both Write and Improve and Speak and Improve, and that's how we get to learn a lot about how people develop their English when they're learning English as a foreign language, right? So absolutely amazing. This is artificial intelligence in action.
Something you could introduce to parents. I mean, it starts from the very lowest level.
That's a great idea.
And goes fairly high as well. Introduce to the parents for them to get involved, but then also for students to record samples of themselves and to get into that self-reflective space.
Okay, Mr. Frank, let's finish.
Yes. So some final comments with some amazing pictures from, I'm guessing this is Pixabay.
It's exactly, and it's about, we are part of a professional community. There's always somebody there who can help remotely now, but somebody there who we can help. Like Johnny WhatsApped me, or I sent him an email, etc., etc. There's always somebody you can ask if you need help, if you're just feeling a bit lonely, whatever. Remember, we're part of a huge professional community. And there's lots of things that we can do about it, because that helps your professional development. So lots of different things that you can do. So MOOCs, for example, these massive open online courses, right? And I believe our hugely popular MOOC on teaching online will be back soon or soonish, right? Webinars, and we'll be sharing some important links so that you can watch some of the webinars you may have missed, right? Like Johnny and I had a wonderful one. It's not, we're a bit prejudiced, mind you, because it was our webinar, but for the Cambridge Live experience, right, Johnny, we did enjoy that a lot. Well, we usually enjoy our webinars. We have lots of fun. So when people ask us, how was the webinar? I said, I hope people enjoyed it, because I certainly had a lot of fun with Johnny. And I know Johnny had a fun time too. So blogs, here in Mexico, we have Mixteasel. Well, remember, there's also TESOL in the States, or IATEFL in England, right? Facebook groups of teachers, right? Cambridge Beta, where you can find information about the different things that we are using. And that is my colleague Andrew and I, right? Who's part of the digital team. He's based in Cambridge, right? And different things about, and you can learn about how we have been using artificial intelligence in assessment, right? And for different things like write and improve and speak and improve. Please go and talk to Sandy. You're going to love her. I guarantee that.
And so this is just a final reiteration to connect as much as you can, or as much as you feel you need, with the global teaching community. Lots of people are in the same situation, and as Rosalia said, it's actually an opportunity, an opportunity that's come from a challenge where you can link up with so many different people and gain so many new ideas. And this just is a reminder of tomorrow, a bit of a teaser. We'll be looking at designing learning, delivering learning, and evaluating learning. So
this means that we are looking forward already to seeing all of you tomorrow. Remember, don't get worried, please, about your certificates, about the webinars, etc. There will be recorded sessions. I know some of our colleagues have been working non-stop, sending emails. You're likely to get an email very soon or soonish, and digital, certificates should be coming your way probably next week. Okay, so just be patient. It will happen. Don't worry. And well, I believe we may have some questions, Johnny.
I believe we might, if we've got something to, well, that's just for people to consider. But the greatest teacher, failure is. Do you want to explain that, Rosalia, while we look at some questions?
Yes. Remember, we said we're talking about galaxies, and everybody knows who that is, right? I don't know what this fascination with Baby Yoda is at present, but this is something that it was not Baby Yoda, although he looks babyish here, right? The greatest teacher, failure is. And this is when Luke was trying to make his ship float, remember, because it was sinking somewhere. And he said, I cannot do it. And say, well, if you keep on saying that you cannot do it, you will not be able to do it, right? Sometimes, as we said, sometimes we create things and they work beautifully well, right? And sometimes they bomb. That's life. It happens, right? But we can learn from mistakes. In fact, mistakes are great lessons. And they let us know a lot about different things. So who was it, Johnny? Thomas Alva Edison, who said, I had 100 ideas, one worked, 99 failed, or something along those lines, right?
No, exactly. Try new things out. Don't be too critical of yourself if they don't go as you planned. Life doesn't go as we always want to plan it, but
Oh,
learn
we
from
do
that
have 3
experience. And
questions, I believe.
I think we do. So, Monica, which questions do you want us to answer? We had some good tongue twisters, by the way, Rosalia. She sells shells by the
Constantinopla is
seashore
easier
was one
than
of them. I
Parangaricutirimícuaro.
like that. Yeah.
Hi. Okay. We have a question from Lorena Hasso. Do you still need to pay the fee for viewing the students' writing in Write and Improve?
Oh, Write and Improve, there is something that you can get for free all the time, and there are some premium options. So the premium options, there was a 30 days for free. Money, I'm not sure whether that's still going on, maybe. But there's
Yes.
free options and there's premium options, right? The premium options you have to pay for, but start with the free ones.
Yeah.
See how much you like it and see how useful they are first.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Another question is, how can I have access to the framework, please? This is from Elsa Lucia, and well, we think that maybe some people couldn't attend the session of yesterday, so we will remind them the link where they can find the framework.
Digitalteacher.com. That's where you go. I'm here just going to see, yes, digitalteacher.com. You go there, the digital teacher actually. And if you forget, just write Cambridge Digital Teacher and it will take you there, right?
Yes. Thank you. And the last question for today is from Barbara Diaz. In the Speak and Improve app, do you get an upgrade as in Write and Improve?
So I think it's a great, yeah, you get like I think it gives you CFR score, right? Or not score, CFR indication, yeah. It gives you an indication of your CFR level, or the CFR level of the writing. And then on top of that, you get all that feedback, which you can really help like students.
I just like to say, I mean, we've been talking about Write and Improve for several years now, right? Several years. We've just started talking about Speak and Improve because for us, Speak and Improve, it's still at research project level, right? Yeah. So that makes a huge difference. And the more you talk to Sandy, the probably you will get a better level all the time, right? It's a very good idea if some of you are getting students prepare, for example, for one of the sort of higher level qualifications or something like MET-Go or LinguaSkill, etc. Specifically for LinguaSkill, for example, if they're going to be doing the version with remote proctoring, LinguaSkill is a great way, or even if it's not remote proctoring, let me correct that. It's a great way to getting used to speaking to the computer.
Yeah.
Because it can be a bit intimidating at first for some people, right?
Yeah. No, and also it's somebody else or something else evaluating their language rather than the teacher, and that can sometimes be quite good. It removes any kind of perceived prejudice, and it's a case of, well, actually it said I was getting an A2 or a B1, and I think I'm better. Well, listen to the recordings, maybe get them to just transcribe the old one and say, well, how could you improve that spoken discourse? And that in itself is a whole activity you could get them to do in class.
Johnny, your stormtroopers, you forgot about them.
But somebody edited them out, I think, for the questions.
It wasn't
I think he throws it. Look, well, that appeared from somewhere. But anyway, I think if there are no more questions, then we will.
I cannot lie.
You were trying to trip me up there, weren't you, by saying, "Oh, go to the Stormtroopers, Johnny," and there were leaves there. Rosalia.
I said I would talk about galaxies. I'm sorry. Wicked, Rosalia. I'm so sorry. I'll try and behave tomorrow, I promise. The only bad thing is I usually promise Johnny that and then I laugh a lot. But I'm not laughing at him, as you can see. I mean, we respect each other loads, right? So this is laughing with Johnny because We really hope that you had a good time today. We really hope that we shared things that we know for some of you, it may not be learning about things, but maybe just remembering about things that you used to know before, maybe creating a bit of appetite to go and explore things like the digital teacher framework, write and improve, speak and improve. That's what it's all about, really. Thank you very much.
And so we'll close the room there, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a lovely evening and take care of yourselves.